Week 4 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few wide receivers I looked at off the wire this week. The first receiver, Trey Tucker of the Las Vegas Raiders, available in tons of fantasy leagues at 97%. And he's the hottest pickup off the wire this week. So Trey Tucker, we see some flashes. Week 1 at New England, he had a decent game. 2 catches, 54 yards, a touchdown, only 3 targets. Week 2 versus the Chargers, 3 catches, 12 yards with 8 targets, and a carry for 7 yards. And then week 3 at the Commanders, I know they were down 3 touchdowns in this game, majority of the game. 8 catches, 145 yards, and 3 TDs on 9 targets and a carry for 4 yards. So he's a speedster. He's Trey Tucker. Geno Smith, he likes stretching the field and spreading the football out. We saw it the last few seasons with Seattle, and now we've seen it so far with this Vegas Raider team. And Trey Tucker, he could burn a secondary and make plays. So like I said, I know he's a smaller wide receiver, and he's the number 3 option, arguably, still in this offense, behind Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers in the receiving room. And then you got Trey Tucker, but anytime there's someone that could go out there, stretch a defense and make plays. Tucker, so far, he's gone out there and coming off a monster performance. He's got to be owned in at least 12-team leagues or deeper this week. And like I said, out there in 93% of fantasy leagues. Next receiver, Christian Kirk of the Houston Texans. I know Christian Kirk, he didn't do much in that ball game in his debut with this Houston Texan team, but they need someone else to step up in the receiving room besides, obviously, Nico Collins, who's one of the better receivers in the league. So Christian Kirk, 3 catches, 25 yards, and 8 targets in his Texan debut at the Jacksonville Jaguars. In week 4, good matchup versus Tennessee Titans, a defense that can't stop anyone. We just saw the Colts go in there and drop 40-plus points on them in week 3. And Christian Kirk, when healthy, we know he's been a decent slot receiver. And like I said, this Texan team, they need a number 2 option to step up and make plays in the passing game. Nico Collins just can't be the only guy going out there and making plays for them. So with all those factors, and Christian Kirk being a veteran receiver and one of the better slot receivers over the last couple seasons, I think he's a decent add off the wire, even though he didn't do much in his debut, and he's available right now in 66% of fantasy leagues. Next receiver, Alec Ainomaner of the Tennessee Titans. So Ainomaner, he was on the list last week, and he cracks it once again. And he's out there in tons of fantasy leagues right now in 79%. So Ainomaner, 2 weeks in a row, found the end zone. And we know this Tennessee Titan team, they're going to be trailing just about every game this season. They're 0-3 this year. Week 4, okay matchup at the Houston Texans, where their defense has been middle of the pack. In the last 2 weeks for Ainomaner, week 2 versus the Rams, 4 catches, 56 yards, a touchdown, 6 targets. Then week 3 versus Indianapolis in a blowout loss, 4 catches, 38 yards, and a touchdown, 5 targets. I don't think he's going to get a lot of receiving yards per game, but Ainomaner, he could be a touchdown type of receiver for this Tennessee Titan team. And now with bye weeks coming up as well, he's a guy that's in the starting lineup. Obviously, he's a rookie getting a good opportunity with this Titan team, and they're going to be a team chasing points all season long, and a lot of garbage time type of points as well will be out there for Ainomaner. So definitely a wide out for fantasy owners to go out there and add this week. Next receiver, Calvin Austin of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Calvin Austin, he had a good week 1, and then week 2 he didn't do anything, and then week 3 bounced back, finding the end zone in that game. So week 1 at the Jets, 4 catches, 70 yards, a touchdown. Week 2 versus Seahawks, they catch 22 yards. And week 3 at the Pats, 3 catches, 34 yards, and a touchdown. So this Steelers team, they're looking for a viable number 2 option, obviously, in the receiving room behind DK Metcalf, who's gotten off to a nice start, I thought, with his new team, with this Pittsburgh Steelers team. And Calvin Austin, he's a speedy wide receiver. I know his route running ain't crisp, but he's a guy that could take off the secondary a little bit with his speed and get behind them. So like I said, in week 1 he had a good week. Week 2 didn't do anything, and then week 3 a mediocre ball game. Right now we're out there in 83% of fantasy leagues, and like I said, this Steelers team, they're looking for a second option. And we know Aaron Rodgers, even at 41 years old, is a quarterback that knows how to get the football to his receivers. He knows how to throw guys open. And obviously, this is the best quarterback Calvin Austin's played with in his young career. Next receiver, Luther Burden III of the Chicago Bears. Coming into the year, Luther Burden was a sleeper for me. The first 2 weeks, we didn't see much from him, but he finally had his breakout game versus the Dallas Cowboys in week 3 with 3 catches, 101 yards, and found the end zone. A speedy wide receiver, could definitely take the top off his secondary as Luther Burden. And now we'll see if he's more in the playbook and picking up this Ben Johnson offense, where week 4, it's a good matchup at the Vegas Raiders, where they can't stop anyone as well. So Luther Burden, I know it was only 3 catches, like I said, on the 3 targets, but he went out there and made plays, and he's still third in that pecking order in the receiving room behind Roma Dunze, behind DJ Moore. Then you got Luther Burden. But I think in deeper leagues, Luther Burden, and as the year goes on, especially after the bye week in week 5, where we see rookies all around the league more involved in their offenses, that's where Luther Burden really could get going. So right now, after you saw the upside and potential in Luther Burden with a big ball game versus the Dallas Cowboys, he's definitely a wide receiver that could go out there and help down the line, I think, but definitely someone to stash in 12-team leagues or deeper. And the final receiver I looked at off the wire this week is Tyquan Thornton of the Kansas City Chiefs. So Tyquan Thornton, he's been a nice deep ball threat for this Kansas City Chiefs team, and he just missed 2 touchdowns in the Week 3 victory at the New York Giants. To start the season, Week 1 at the Chargers, 2 catches, 41 yards on 4 targets. Week 2 versus the Eagles, 2 catches, 59 yards, a touchdown. And then Week 3, Mahomes kept going to him deep a lot in that ball game, 9 targets, 5 catches, 71 yards, and he found the end zone. And like I said, he dropped one, and then the next play of that drive, he got stopped at the 1-yard line. So Thornton's been a deep ball threat. Him and Mahomes are connecting. They just missed on another one as well in this game. And even when Xavier Worthy returns to the lineup, possibly next week, coming off the shoulder injury versus the Ravens, I think Thornton's still going to be part of this offense. He's a speedster, one-on-one coverage, burning corners, and getting behind the secondary. And that's what Mahomes has been missing the last few seasons, a legit deep ball guy that he could just throw it up 50, 60 yards in the air, and he knows the receiver's going to go out there and get it to Thornton. I'm not going to say he's a consistent guy week in and week out, but definitely getting attention over the last couple weeks, where in the last 2 games he's got 14 targets and 2 touchdowns in that time, and he's had double-digit fantasy games 2 weeks in a row as well, and he's available in tons of leagues right now at 98%, so that's a few receivers I looked at off the wire for Week 4 of the fantasy football season.